There have been times when I'm in Disney World when I'm looking back on my day, not fondly, thinking, why on earth did I do that? Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog, and today I'm here to tell you some of the dumb mistakes and bad decisions I've made at Disney World so that you will not follow my lead. These are the things that I should never have done in Disney World, along with some tragically funny stories from our DFV team. We may be Disney World experts, but we still do some things we regret just about every day, and I want to make sure you don't do the same. Alright, kicking things off with something I 100% regret, and I can guarantee you will not enjoy it either. Well, maybe not guarantee, maybe you love this sort of thing, but that's getting my face painted in the summer. Face painting probably still won't be happening this summer because of COVID protocols, and touching someone else's face is a big no-no right now, but those face painting booths will eventually be back, and this is your PSA to give a little thought to how comfortable you'll feel after being painted like a Na'vi in the middle of Florida's hot, humid, rainy season. Face painting can be totally fun. Your kids will probably love it, but if it's hot, that face paint is going to start to drip off if you're sweating, or you're going to smear it super easily if you get caught in a pop-up rainstorm. And then that awesome face paint design is going to look like a big mess that you just dropped $12 to $18 on. If you're visiting in the summer and you cannot resist the temptation, hold on to your receipt because you can get touch-ups throughout the day if the design isn't totally destroyed by sweat or rain. All right, something else I never should have done in Disney World, and promise I don't do this anymore, prioritized fashion over comfort. Now, we're always telling you to wear comfortable shoes that you've already broken in here on DFB Guide, and that's because I've made the mistake of making poor clothing choices too many times to count. I know you want to look cute. You probably went pre-vacation shopping for some new outfits. Believe me, I get stuff delivered almost every day the week before I go to Disney World, but you got to remember that visiting Disney World can be the equivalent of a major workout every single day of vacation, and you want to be comfy. Don't wear new stuff to the park. 10 miles per day is not the time to test out a new pair of shoes or a new skirt. If you wear uncomfortable shoes, even for just a few hours, you're going to end up with blisters or incredibly sore feet that are going to cause problems for the entire rest of your trip. Like literally, you can do damage on day one that you will not recover from until you've been home for a week, and it's just not worth it. You don't know anybody at Disney World? Nobody's gonna see you again? Doesn't matter what you look like. Our team also has many words of caution on wearing jorts to the parks. Maybe they're comfy for you, by the way, jorts or jean shorts. Maybe they're comfy for you, but our team is at Disney World every single day running around the parks to get all the snacks and cover the latest news, so they have tested out many outfits. Our team are also big fans of slip shorts, under dresses, and skirts. You can still look cute and be comfy. And you guys know I'm a huge proponent of using those chafing sticks, those like running sticks that you can use on any part of your body that maybe rubs against other parts of your body. You can use it anywhere, but it's super helpful. Also, by the way, heads up, I do sometimes wear jorts to the parks, not gonna lie, and they kind of work for me, but for the rest of my team, they don't. So that's a good thing if you're a jort wearer. Put them on, wear them around all day, walk in them for 2 or 3 miles, and see if they start rubbing or doing damage. And if they don't, you're good to go. But I still like the chafing stick. And remember, whatever you're going to wear, just plan to test anything out at home before you head to Disney. Always check the weather to know if what you packed will actually hold up in that forecast. Basically, just put on the clothes you're going to wear in the park and get in the shower and then go walk around for 10 miles. That's what it's like to be in Disney World in the summer. Now, over at DisneyFoodBlog.com, we've got weekly weather posts that will help you know what to expect and what extras you should plan to toss in your park bag. We're also testing out and reviewing some things you might use at the parks. We've so far done full articles on wearing Crocs all day in the parks, wearing natives all day in the parks, wearing a Disney poncho during severe weather in the parks. So you can check out what our team thought and how this stuff holds up to a full day in Disney World before you toss them in your suitcase, or better yet, before you spend money on them in the first place. All right, next thing I never should have done in Disney World, neglected to wear sunscreen. Now, I know what you're saying. AJ, you tell us all the time to wear sunscreen. We're going to do it. I know you're not going to do it. I know you're not going to do it. A lot of us say we're going to wear sunscreen, and we tell our dermatologists that we wear sunscreen, just like we tell our dentists that we floss. But we don't do it as often as we should now, do we? So seriously, you guys, with the sunscreen, this is another situation that can completely ruin your entire trip if you make this mistake on day one. I'm not even lying. It is important for me to tell you this. I don't want you to be in a difficult situation for the rest of your trip because you didn't put on the sunscreen day one. And, bad shoes are not the only thing that can ruin the rest of your trip. We're talking lasting effects. And of course, you don't want your kiddos or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever you're visiting with to basically be in pain for the whole trip. So absolutely get a new stick or tube or bottle of sunscreen, one that you like, one that you've tried, one that works well for you. Get it and bring it, put it in a Ziploc bag so it doesn't burst all over your bag. Now, I don't care if you're saying, AJ, that tube of sunscreen is too big and I'm traveling light. Pick up a little mini bottle that can hook on a keychain. Just bring it and put it on. The sun in Florida is crazy intense and there is often very little shade to be found. You might get stuck waiting in line for a ride in direct sunlight. And if you forgot sunscreen and you're like the majority of people out there, you probably will burn or have negative repercussions. So remember the sunscreen for you, for your kids, for anybody you're visiting with. And always remember to put it on your face and have maybe a secondary sunscreen. Like I break out with if I put anything on my face. And so I will usually have a secondary like sensitive skin sunscreen to put on my face specifically. And your kids, if somebody has eczema or somebody has any sort of skin issues, you may have to get a specific kind of sunscreen. But they do sell sunscreen in the Disney World gift shops, but it is going to be really expensive. So you'll want to be careful with that as well. All right, something else I never should have done in Disney World, left things to chance. Now, I know sometimes it's fun to just fly by the seat of your pants and be completely spontaneous, but if there's something you need in Disney World, whether that's a certain food for your picky kid or a ride you can't live without riding, if there's something super important to you or somebody in your family or your traveling party, don't leave it to chance. There are some things that you can be spontaneous about, and there are some things that are important. If your kid only eats Cheerios, let me tell you right now, you better pack them because Disney doesn't have Cheerios. Sometimes they have fake generic Cheerios, but they don't always have those. Those go in and out of availability. So if you have a toddler who lives on Cheerios, just bring them with you. Bring a whole giant box of them with you. You can always swing by Target, order some groceries to your hotel. They'll even have them at drugstores, but just a heads up that if you've got a picky kid who needs their specific snacks, have a plan. Remember, you can have groceries delivered to your hotel as well. And by the way, we're going to be testing out a bunch of grocery delivery services for you soon too. If there are rides you must ride, restaurants you must eat at, then don't just assume that they will be open when you're at Disney. Rides close for refurbishment all the time. You don't want to show up and find out your favorite ride is closed. Keep an eye on the Disney World calendar. They list rides, shows, etc. that are closed for refurb, so you know before your trip. If you need to ride Splash Mountain before it closes, better check that calendar leading up to your trip since we don't know when that work is going to start. All right, next thing you shouldn't do, and I never should have done in Disney World, is expected that things would go swimmingly. That things would go off without a hitch. You can research and plan for months or years before your trip, but don't get married to your plans because something's going to happen that throws a wrench into all your hard work. So always have a plan B. I have a great example of this that we used to do what we called foodie fests for Disney Food Blog, and we would actually have a private dessert party to watch Illuminations, and I would have all of my favorite Disney treats on the menu so people could eat some of my favorite Disney treats and then have a dedicated area to watch Illuminations. It was super great. Well, of course, if it was going to rain, then Illuminations would be canceled and basically the whole event would be moved indoors. So people wouldn't get to see the fireworks. They would still get to eat the food, but they wouldn't get to see the fireworks. And that was a huge bummer. And it used to just stress me out beyond belief. And there were actually a couple of times that it was moved indoors and we were not able to watch the fireworks. And it just broke my heart. And it broke my heart for all of the DFB readers who were there. And so I've always been high anxiety enough to not really think things are going to go perfectly well all the time. But that I may have just been a little too confident in those events. And of course, sometimes they just don't work out. So if you don't get into that restaurant you were dreaming of, you don't get on that ride, it's going to rain your entire trip, your kid gets sick, your other kid rode Space Mountain for the first time and loved it, and now that's all he wants to do. Things you cannot plan for will happen, and the worst thing I've ever done in Disney World is pretend like that's not going to happen. So have a backup plan, be ready to go with the flow, maybe ride Space Mountain 5 more times than you planned to, because, like I said before, I've used every single Fast Pass on Goofy's Barnstormer, and sometimes it's just what you got to do, man. So be prepared for everything to fall apart, have that plan B, and just try to be okay with it. All right, something you should not do in Disney World, I never should do in Disney World, and I've gotten pretty good at not doing this in Disney World, is expecting that the restaurant would be just as good as it was before. This is another huge PSA from my years of experience eating at Disney World restaurants. The only thing that's consistent about Disney restaurants is that they are inconsistent. I say that all the time around here. It's too bad that's not a cool enough quote to put on a t-shirt. Now, restaurants update the menus, the chefs, the staff, and more on a regular basis. That perfect meal you had 5 years ago might be a total disappointment on your next trip because things have changed or the restaurant was just having an off day. Psychologists have done experiments that basically prove that one of the big factors in having a good meal is who you're with and the experience you're having and the kind of what's going on in your life at the time really affects whether a meal is great or not. So if you have kind of, you never step in the same river twice, right? Things are going to be different the next time you go to that restaurant, and things are actually physically going to be different because you're going to have different menus, different chefs, different servers, etc. I have actually been to Le Cellier for lunch and then again for dinner the exact same day. Why did I do that? I don't know. I run Disney Food Blog. And so I wanted to go to one of my favorite restaurants twice in the same day and see what happened. Well, I had 2 extremely different experiences, even though it was the exact same day. For one of those meals, everything was perfect and absolutely, chef's kiss, like bellissima. And then the other meal, the steak was cold. I had to send it back, and then they basically burned it, and it was a disaster. So same restaurant, same day, 2 completely different experiences. Now, here at DFB, we go back to restaurants over and over and over again to make sure we have an idea of just how things stand. Just because we gave a restaurant a stellar review 2 years ago might not mean we feel the same way now, or vice versa, and that's why we keep going back. So you can follow along at DisneyFoodBlog.com for our latest reviews. We do about 3 restaurant reviews a week, and if you need more help deciding which restaurants are worth your money, consider picking up that DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining. It's a lot of pages. It's literally everything I have in my head about food at Disney World. There's reviews of every single restaurant, our tips to help you pick what's best for you. You can head to dfbstore.com to get your copy. Use code YouTube for a discount. And of course, we appreciate your support. All of you who have bought the books, thank you so much. All of you who have sent us your testimonials and said, hey, this is a great guide. We love it. We buy it every year. I take all of those positive words that you send and I put them on our shared communication channels for our whole team so they can see what important work they're doing and how much they're impacting your trips. So that's really, really good for me to see. It's really edifying, and it's really good for our team to see too, that their hard work is paying off for you guys. All right, next thing I never should have done in Disney World, promised my kid anything. Now, whether it's being able to ride a certain ride, eat at a certain restaurant, meet a certain character, get a certain souvenir, don't ever make a promise. You guys know what happens when you make promises to your kids. Things change in Disney World on an hour-by-hour basis, so promising something that you may not be able to deliver isn't going to end well. All it takes is a closed-down ride that you promised they could ride to shake their confidence and their trust in you. We say, we'll try, or we hope so, versus I promise, and that tends to work a little bit better. And it's also a good opportunity to kind of have that teachable moment, that learning experience with your child, and say, sometimes things don't go as we planned. Sometimes things don't go the way we want them to, but that doesn't mean we can't still have a great time. All right, next thing I never should have done in Disney World. This is one that I don't learn from, by the way, so do as I say, not as I do. Overindulge. Now, our team has some very tragically funny stories of overindulging in Disney World, often involving expensive and exclusive events where they really wanted to get their money's worth and maybe had a bit too much to eat or a few too many glasses of wine. Our team has attended Party for the Senses, the big unlimited tasting event that typically happens during Epcot's Food and Wine Festival, and of course dinner at Victoria and Albert's with a wine pairing. Both events can easily set you back $300 a person. Obviously, when you're dropping that kind of cash, you want to make sure you really take advantage and eat everything you can, but your stomach might not be able to keep up, especially if you've already had a full day in Disney World. Even if you don't go for those big splurges, reconsider if you're thinking about booking 3 table service meals in a day. That's a lot of food, and often our eyes are bigger than our stomachs. Also, think about planning a really big dinner, like a buffet or all you can eat, for an evening when you aren't planning to hit some rides after. A dinner at Ohana, followed by a ride on Space Mountain, might not be in your best interest. When you're planning out your meals, think about how much you'll really eat versus how much you want to eat, and think about what you're going to be doing before and after those meals. All right, next thing I never should have done in Disney World, waited that long for a bus. Yep, Disney World has free transportation that you can use if you're staying there or just trying to hop between the parks or get to a dinner reservation, but free does not always mean good. I've learned from my mistake, and I don't wait a super long time for buses anymore. The monorail, the boats, the Skyliner, if there's a long line or more likely I'm running late, I'm just gonna hop in a car or a ride share to get me where I'm trying to go a lot faster. Sometimes I'll even take a taxi. We've seen really long lines for pretty much every mode of transportation in Disney World lately, especially when the parks open and close because there are fewer spots on transportation with the need for social distancing. You could end up waiting an hour to get on the Skyliner at the end of the night, and that's even if things are running smoothly. Sometimes it's a better use of your time and money to call a car or drive yourself or get a taxi or something like that. Time equals money in Disney World. You know that, and there's no easier way to waste it than waiting on a bus or another form of transportation when you can just hop in a car and get someplace faster. All right, things I never should have done in Disney World, dumb packing mistakes. Make yourself a packing list well before you start packing. Don't be like me. Don't pack for Disney World at 3:30 in the morning when you have a 6 a.m. flight. Why does this always happen? I don't know. I can't explain it. Somebody help me out. But anyway, make a packing list, start packing early so you aren't in that last minute stress before vacation mode and you're leaving out some very important items for your suitcase like your underpants. This has happened to me. Now, I once forgot makeup on a trip where I was presenting at a conference in Disneyland, and I had to go to Sephora in downtown Disney to use samples there. I don't recommend this. Is this legal? I had to use samples to put on some sort of makeup because I was presenting at this conference, and it was super embarrassing. Luckily, the people at Sephora were very, very kind to me, and they said, it's okay, you can do this. But nothing tops our one team member story of how her husband forgot to pack underwear, see, we're all the same, and spent each evening sink washing that one pair he did bring. So triple check your packing list. Make sure you have plenty of face masks since you likely didn't need them on your last trip to Disney and they're not on your last packing list. And don't forget stuff in your park bag. Don't get caught without that sunscreen or a water bottle, or these days, a reusable straw, maybe even reusable cutlery. I just keep my stuff in that park bag. Nothing comes out when I get back to the hotel so that I don't forget anything the next day. All right, and next thing I never should have done in Disney World, not check the park hours and show times. Checking those park hours is super important for timing out dining reservations with fireworks shows. Don't end up like our one team member who got seated about 3 minutes after the show ended because she cut it too close with the reservation time. But even without fireworks right now, you want to keep an eye on those park hours. If park hours are extended, you may miss rope drop and shorter lines at the end of the night. If you don't know the park is open later and there are no fireworks shows to clue you in, you might just head home instead of hopping on more rides. If you don't have notifications enabled on your phone, you could also miss some extra ride time too, because when the parks are busy, Disney's lately been sending out a low-key pop-up notification that some rides are open later than the park. Super, super important to get that notification, so enable those notifications on My Disney Experience when you get to Disney World. And if parks open earlier than you were expecting, you might show up to long lines that you could have avoided if you'd checked to see that Animal Kingdom was opening an hour earlier than you anticipated. Also, it's always a good idea to get to the park 30 minutes before it opens because sometimes they do let people in early and sometimes you can start riding early. So totally worth it to get there 30 minutes early. And FYI, hours are changing a lot lately, but if you sign up for our newsletter, you won't miss a single announcement. We got the link to sign up right below this video. I've learned the hard way the things I never should have done in Disney World, and there's lots more than this list, please let me tell you. And maybe we'll have to do another video of all my mistakes. But hopefully my failures can help you have a better trip and a better vacation with your group, your family, your friends. Are there any mistakes you guys have made? Please let us know. If you've learned lessons the hard way, tell us in the comments because everybody else can learn from you as well. Your experience can help others have a better trip, so please do share what you've learned. It's okay, this is a no judgment zone. We've all clearly made mistakes. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you so much for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Vlog, and we'll see you real soon.